Let's start with meditation. So we'll start by allowing our heart to soften. A sense of ease as consciousness settles into the space around us, into the body. You can take a couple of deep breaths. As we ease into the body, in the present moment. We bring in our understanding of emptiness. So that when we say the word body, we don't actually know what we're referring to. As a concept in our mind, we want to experience it as a lived, brand new phenomenon. An exploration into a mystery. We call this Zen mind, beginner's mind. The phenomenon we're referring to as body. What is your experience of it in this moment? And you allow it to relax, to be still, and completely alive. The only movement occurring with the in and out breath, the rise and fall of the abdomen. And as we attune to the breath, we bring in our practice of emptiness, understanding that whatever we are conceiving with our mind about something is not the thing itself. So we understand intuitively that to know the reality of the breath is to be with the breath. To know the reality of this moment is to let go of thinking about the moment. We don't need to do something else. So as you attune to the breath, allow it to help you let go of your concepts and just remain with the sensations of the breath and the rhythm of the body. Whenever you get caught up in thinking, as soon as you notice this, have the same sense of joy as you do when becoming lucid in a dream. You don't beat yourself up that you were dreaming. You feel joy that you've caught yourself and you're lucid. The mind is compelled to dream and dream and dream. And each time we catch it, we smile and recognize, I'm again lucid. I'm letting go of the dreaming mind, the conceptual thinking. And we come back to the present moment with the breath. Gently open your eyes, but if you can, try not to look at the screen. Either lower your gaze or raise your gaze. We have the sense that all our senses are open. Don't focus the eyes on any object. Buddha said, in the scene, just let the scene be the scene. Don't bring your conceptual mind to label anything that's appearing to your visual awareness. There is no doubt that you're aware of phenomenon that you're seeing. Don't label anything. Just whatever is appearing, just allow it to appear. Recognizing this is your consciousness, visual consciousness. Whatever you're seeing, the colors, the distinction of shapes, does not exist outside of your consciousness. The eye itself doesn't see things. It's just an organ that allows in light. What you're perceiving, what you're looking at, is your own mind. Visual consciousness. Get a sense of consciousness appearing. Just as there's no blue in the sky, there is no colors in the objects. If you try to find the color, it will be empty, unfindable from its own side. It's just your mind, like a dream. Allow this to be an intuitive knowing. Visual consciousness. Then bring your attention to sounds. The ear does not hear sounds. The ear is an organ for waves to enter it, vibrations. The sound is your mind. As you hear a sound, recognize that is awareness itself. Its emptiness is appearing as sound. If you remove the awareness, there would be no sound. If you remove the sound, there is no awareness of the sound. The sound does not exist out there, separate. The sound itself cannot be located. Just auditory consciousness. Recognize it's your own awareness. Do not label the sounds. Do not conceptualize them. Experience them as awareness. The awareness itself has no location that's findable. Likewise, the same as smells and tastes, although we may not be experiencing them much at the moment. We can easily recognize that taste itself does not exist in an object. Allow your awareness to focus on tactile consciousness, touch, a feeling in the way you're sitting. Just allow it to be, without bringing in any images of the body, without conceptualizing. Just allow the sensations to be there. Recognizing that the sensations are your own awareness. Where are the sensations outside of awareness? And where is awareness outside of the sensations? Openly embrace all five senses. Understanding this is your awareness, and these are five sense fields. They are distinct aspects of awareness. Then we recognize and bring our attention to whatever else arises to our awareness is mental consciousness, the sixth sense. Thoughts, images, emotion, just allow them to arise like the other senses. Without your awareness of a thought or an image, where is the image or thought? And without a thought or image, where is the awareness? They are inseparable. Thought is awareness itself, just like sound. It's like sensations. Don't conceptualize what thinking is. It's just manifestly obvious that it's there, like sounds, or colors, or sensations. Resting and observing in this way, allow it to become clear that there is an observer who is not a thought. It's not an image. It's awareness. The one that is observing all these phenomena arising. So we still allow everything to arise, noticing any thought or image that's arising in awareness. And we recognize the awareness itself that's observing these. The field in which these things arise and are known. Don't reject any phenomenon arising, and don't engage with it. You are simply aware of the six senses. And by being aware of the six senses, it becomes very clear that you are awareness. That awareness is not coming or going. Without this awareness, what are these six senses? And without these six senses, what is this awareness? For the final part of this meditation, alight your awareness on that sense of awareness. If we have a sense of something that's unfindable, that is the object of meditation. allow the awareness to become aware of the six senses again. Coming back to the breath. Being aware of a sense of self. It's just an image arising in this awareness. We'll take a minute to stretch, relax, move into the body. So, God bless. I'd like to go up to 1:30, go through the text, and then it'd be nice to have some questions and feedback about what's going on. As we continue on the Bodhisattva vows, I was reflecting how easy it is to fall into like some kind of Christian. It's not right to say Christian, is it? So, the appropriation of beauty by controlling forces to make you feel guilty about existing. So the context again in which we're receiving this, more like you imagine that you've got it down, awareness of awareness. Like, to some extent you understand how to control your ego. Yeah, you're like a meditator. And then you come to a yogi in a cave. No one knows you go to this yogi in the cave. And, oh my God, Sebastian's here. Just like a monk. It's extraordinary. Oh, there we go, a real Christian for you. Christ consciousness. That's the hair. I mean, how can you not understand law? No. No, that's just visual consciousness, right? Can't discriminate yet. And you understand it's not enough just to be aware, like self-aware. You want to develop unconditional love. And it's like, so the yogi's telling you, you have to generate this mind of bodhicitta. It's this wish to love all living beings in creation. Yeah, it's a really difficult mind to generate. It seems that way. And so it's like, we don't make it abstract. You're not going to meet all people, right? So it just means whoever you meet, that's all living beings. That's what it means. Whoever you meet. So whoever you meet, you have this feeling of love towards. And it's like, well, how do I do that? It's like, this is the guidelines. Like, try and stick to these guidelines. These guidelines are going to help you keep that mind. And they're a mirror to see if you're being selfish again or contracting. There's nothing wrong with contracting. There's nothing wrong with contracting. There's nothing wrong with just going on about leading your life. It's for someone who's trying to develop universal love. These are the guidelines. They're not for when we're in an experience of we don't feel like doing it and you're feeling selfish. It's like, well, that's how you feel. It's okay. You're not a bad person because like you slip into this. It's just a mirror to recognize you're slipping into the selfish, like the contracted self. And what's that like? And it's a mirror to show, to push against. It's like, oh, I'm just thinking of myself here. And Buddha's trying to say, look at your mind then. Is the unhappiness coming from where? Yeah, there's no actual text that can tell you. It's a self-examination and understanding. That's the context. Very important. Yeah, you've got complete freedom to do it. The context is you want to generate a mind that loves everybody. But you've come to this yogi on your own and no one knows you've gone there. So no one would be able to say, oh, you're not practicing the Bodhisattva path. Oh, no, no one can guilt trip you into, you're meant to help people because you're meant to be a Bodhisattva. No one knows. If anyone uses your Dharma against you, this is the thing about guilt tripping someone. It's a double loss. Because if you guilt trip someone into doing something, you'll never know if they actually want to. In the back of your mind, you'll think, they're just doing it because I've guilt tripped them. You'll never know. And then you'll always have this uncertainty in your mind. Oh, does he actually want to? And the more fear you have, the more you'll try and guilt trip them. Yeah. And love, we understand, comes out of freedom. Not guilt tripping people, not trying to control people. And we understand that's really wild and difficult to do. And I was talking to Rahima the other day, like one of the things in which we unconsciously guilt trip people is to tell them of our past trauma. Because then we put our hooks in them that they should feel sorry for us. That if they leave us, then they're bad people. If they leave us, they're continuing our trauma. And we put in negative stories, and then we actually define ourselves through this trauma. Because it's our unconscious fear that they'll leave us. But if we tell them how bad it will be for us if they leave us, we think that they won't. Yeah, and so it's like a deep thing to notice your unconscious negative stories and how they define you and your relationships around you. And you always have this sense of uncertainty because you're actually trying to maintain someone's relationship through negativity. Something to reflect on. Maybe everything I just said was horseshit. Don't know. But it's interesting, right? So the idea is to generate this positive mind, a positive self-image, a positive relationship with people, a positive world in which we explore our individual rights and freedom and uniqueness. And we're not all meant to have the same wishes as everyone else. Well, talking about last night with Ibn Arabi and Rumi are totally different. And all the mystics are totally different. And we have to find our own unique individual wishes without being guilt-tripped and thinking, I shouldn't want to feel like that. And this is the thing of following your own truth, even if it means going against the entire world. And our current generation is like well, what happened with the prison time, just massive guilt trip. It's always the way. Guilt tripping people to control them. Yeah, if you go against what we're telling you, you're a bad person. So please remember, this is all about individual freedom. So, 35. Not going to the assistance of those in need. So if you're trying to generate a mind of universal love and compassion, you turn your back on people who need you. It's going to create a knot in that. You'll notice a contraction when you're trying to do that. This doesn't mean you wear yourself out. And it's always, again, if you're doing it out of laziness or a delusion like anger, well, I can't be bothered helping them. And it's generally as just simple as you see someone's got a map. Maybe they don't do it anymore. Everyone's got a phone. Maybe their phone's not working. And it's like you see they need directions and you go and help them. How does it feel? Feel crap. It's beautiful to make human contact. Here's what I'll be working on next. For myself, I've got death awareness up. The next one is personal responsibility, karma. So you realize that this life is precious. And then with the Sufi slant on it, your job is to make everything beautiful. Because sometimes you think, am I doing this spiritual path, which we may equate with thinking, well, I haven't realized emptiness yet, I'm not doing it right. Generally, it's like I'm not in a state of complete awareness. That's the complete end result. Venerable Geshe said to me, Moral discipline in itself is enough. Yeah. Like in reference, so you don't need to meditate. Moral discipline in itself is enough. That means you've got this death awareness. You understand like life is precious and beautiful. Now what am I going to do? I'm going to protect life. I'm not going to kill. I'm going to respect people's property. I'm not going to steal anything. Yeah. I'm not going to cheat on my partner, and I'm going to respect my relationship. I'm not going to lie to people. I'm going to say truthful things. I'm not going to say hurtful things to people. I'm going to say nice things to them. I'm not going to speak bad about people behind the back. I'm going to say I'm going to talk about the good qualities of my friends behind their back. Oh, I wish you could meet so-and-so, such a nice person. I'm not going to engage in completely mindless gossip. I'm going to speak meaningfully to people. I'm not going to have horrible, malicious thoughts about people. I'm going to have nice thoughts about them and try and think nice things about them. And I'm not going to have like wrong views. Like I'm not going to just think about materialism and nihilism and suicide. I'm going to think about everything is divine, everything's like empty, everything depends on my mind, and I'm a beautiful being. You do that, you're leading a meaningful, precious life. Now, we're just told to do that consciously. Then you're creating the karma, we say in Buddhism, to reborn again as a human being. Like you've got nothing to fear when you die, nothing. And that's the fundamental basis in which you're going to realize emptiness. I mean, that's me just speaking basically, right? So it's like if you get up during the day, you have nice thoughts about your partner at breakfast, you say some nice things to make them laugh, you engage in some nice communication, just say nice things. When you talk about people at work saying, oh, this person's great, and what about the class? Oh, that was great. And you engage in virtuous speech, you understand, you get virtuous speech. This is your last day on earth, right? You can't just sit there and go every day, oh, I love you so much, I love you. It's overwhelming, right? And you wish them well as they leave, go out the door. This is moral discipline. Then you're like, how can I beautify my time? Maybe I'll read a meaningful book, study the Dharma, or do a meditation if you're on your own. And if you're with people, you say nice things. You see an insect that's struggling, you catch it and put it outside. You've protected life. You are practicing the holy Dharma. You're doing it. This is karma. You're now on the third level. And it's like you understand all these actions are my mind. I am creating a beautiful world to come. Like the world is going to come out of each moment of consciousness itself and generate an unbelievable feeling of joy. This is me taking my human life meaningfully. Yeah. And have this incredible self-esteem arising from it. And then balance it up. If you're doing that most of the day, like you sit down, you have a nice conversation with them. If Sylvia and Hakeem are together, if they're together and you sit there, most of the time you're having a laugh and you're enjoying yourself and you help each other, you're practicing love and discipline. That's the spiritual path. You'll slip from the spiritual path if you start just going inwards to yourself, not speaking to Sylvia and just going, maybe he doesn't really like me. That's horrible. And you're deluded. And if you started to slip into that, you would remember, no, I need to be disciplined. What is it? Discipline is spontaneously effortless for you guys, right? That spontaneous, effortless lovingness is a meaningful spiritual life. That's the basis. I don't know how hard it was for you to do the meditation or how easy it was, but if you just had a fight with each other, how would that affect your meditation? It'd be impossible. Because you've got a negative mind. Understand that your loving relationship has made your meditation sitting together easy. Therefore, your world is easy. Your life is beautiful. Make the connection It's like you think, oh, what do I do? I'm going to die. I'm running out of time. This is it. I'm leading a spiritual life. This is the basis. On this basis, I'll go deeper into this understanding of emptiness, what will take a long time. But the basis is this: saying beautiful things, beautifying the world. That's the basic. Then the Bodhisattva way is we're going right even deeper into refining how to help your friendships. When we go into Tantra, it's like that real Tantra is creativity, and everything is like this, seeing everything as God. So on the basic level, you're seeing Hakim as your mate, and you grew up with him, nice guy, and you're creating this lovely life between you, these spiritual virtues. But there's still like a person there, and there's still, because of that, negativity can arise, right? Or doubts, or this. As we go into the Tantra and the Bodhisattva path, this overwhelming sense of love and divinity starts to come in. And it becomes very difficult to have a negative thought towards those that you really love, right? And you've got to go really deep into the spiritual path. There's just like no separation. It's like your identity is interdependent with those that you love, interdependent with the world around you. And we recognize that interdependence is based on this basic discipline of saying beautiful things, doing beautiful things, creating beautiful things, creating a beautiful world. Because I know the mind, and it just can always focus on the negativity. So, I'm not being spiritual enough. Venerable Geshe says, you just need to do that. You don't even need to meditate, and you'll get there. It's enough. That discipline. And it's like, you die. How would you die with regret? Maybe that you didn't actually realize the self. Might be your only regret. That you hadn't done it yet, but you thought, okay, next life. You got the complete basis for it, right? Sometimes you just need your awareness turned to see what you're actually doing. And you realize, well, what more can I do meaningfully with my life? So maybe if, like Hakim and Sylvia, might spend a lot of time just indulging and enjoying themselves, right? Right? Beautiful. But there'll be some part of you going, well, what can we do that's deeper? And maybe the two of you in your friendship could go out and feed homeless people. So not only will your relationship be like even more beautified, you'd be engaging in an action together that helps people, and in that action you deepen your bonds of love and help people, and you recognize like the karma then you're creating is even deeper. Instead of just sitting together playing Grand Theft Auto and having a laugh and generating a beautiful time together, a beautiful world. You understand that difference between that and going, right, this is not enough. It's great, right? That's the point. You have to be free yourself. You have a beautiful life yourself. It's not enough. And now I can go out and we can spread this by helping other people that need it. Like, I want to do that. It's not like a guilt trip. It's a, what do you call it? Sorry. An abundance of your joy together. If you two just insulate together, it will wear out, right? There's something there. That joy needs to be shared. If you just go out and help people and you don't have anything, there's not much there, is there? Burnout, all these kind of things. Neglecting to take care of the sick. If we show no concern for sick people or animals whom we encounter and do not do our best to help them, we're slipping out of this universal love training. Yeah, So bodhisattvas are well, always helping animals and insects and things. I don't know if I shared you the photo of Venerable Geshe with his dog. It's on Rahima's phone. It's just 37. Not acting to dispel suffering. Whenever we see humans who are physically or mentally handicapped or insane, that's everyone you meet, right? Or whenever we see animals, we should feel compassion and consider how we can help them. If we are unable to be of any practical assistance, we should at least pray for them. If we do nothing, we incur a secondary downfall. So if you see some suffering in the world, you just turn a blind eye. You're slipping from that sense of universal love. You just at least pray, hope they get better. God help them. You can at least understand that you're maintaining this connection between yourself and others. Yourself and the world, that we're interdependent instead of insulating into your own sense of awareness. So it's this expansion. It's always thinking of others. Like if you're flying in a plane, just imagine when, Jim Rinpoche used to say, I'm blessing everyone that I look at when I'm in the plane. It's like, because Soke Rinpoche, what you're doing is I'm blessing everyone. Like sending blessings on everyone. You can do that, you just do that with your mind. And remember, everything is your mind. Everything's your consciousness. It's like you're just turning everything into this beautiful way. But we try and stop suffering when we can. You don't look for it. You don't need to be a goody-goody. Yeah? You don't need to insert your ego onto it. I'm a helper. That's an archetype. The main thing is the intention. And actually, it might be better if someone else helps. Give them the good karma. Not helping others to overcome their bad habits. If we meet people who habitually engage in behavior that directly or indirectly harms themselves or others, and we have the opportunity skillfully to help them overcome these habits, we should do so. If we cannot help them directly, we should at least pray for them. If we do nothing, we incur a secondary downfall. This downfall differs from the 16th secondary downfall in that the former concerns specific heavy negative actions, whereas this one concerns frequently repeated but otherwise relatively minor unskillful actions such as smoking, drinking, petty theft, or acting in ways that cause disharmony. It's not that complicated. Essentially, if you can do something, you try it skillfully. Skillfully. Yeah. Like if your mum smokes, you stop smoking, mum, it's gonna fucking kill you. It's like, it's not very skillful, is it? You might ask your mum to watch a couple of YouTubes, funny ones, and then you accidentally click on this YouTube and it's like it's got someone who's got sufferings of smoking. You see like this lung, so it might be a 30-second advert of someone who smokes and it's lung. Oh, sorry about that advert, mum. But then go on to the next one. Like that, right? People very rarely, and it takes a long time to be able to speak directly to someone's ego and tell them not to do something. No one's ego likes that. Do you like to? If you're angry and someone says don't be angry, what does that do? And that's when it's peak ego time, isn't it? The anger. Even if you're around spiritual people and you know it's spiritual, and they still, like, they're pointing out to you. the best pointing out to be, and actually just sit and look at them and you don't say anything, but they know that they're out of control. So, that's enough, right? That's enough, isn't it? That's skillful means. But the point he's making is, at least pray for them, at least have good thoughts for them. If you just ignore them, then you're slipping away from this universal love, this like loving sense in which you're caring for people. It doesn't mean that you can do something. It's just, I want them to be free from that. May they be free. That's enough. So with our minds internally, we're just trying to generate this sense of universal love, and outwardly we're practicing this discipline that we just talked about. So it's nice to speak to someone and have a laugh, and that's a beautiful thing. But then you're bringing in this thing of, imagine every one of us. You imagine like Sylvia, imagine like you're with Hakeem and you're with your best friend, this feeling of love. And you think, imagine everyone in the world had friendship like this and was experiencing this. Imagine that. May that be true. In fact, when we get deeper into it, in fact, I've had enough time with Hakeem. I'm so lucky. May my friendship ripen on other people. And I'll take on any difficulty that they have. May they have this. Imagine you got a choice between everyone in the world experiencing your relationship as you have at the moment. Everyone in the world. But in order for that to happen, you had to leave Hakeem. Would you do it? Of course you would. It's like everyone in the world. It's like, imagine it, everyone in the world. Now, that mind, even thinking like that, makes you happy, transforms your mind. That transformation is what we're after, that state of joy, which we then, relationship's not going to end by thinking that. It's only going to get a tad closer and more beautiful. It's just skillful means of changing our mind. It's an indicator of something. When we're studying the emptiness book, this is a segue into the questions. When we're studying the emptiness book, Geshe-la says that when we're contemplating all these analytical meditations, it's not the truth. It's an indicator it's the truth. Like, it logically makes sense that you can't find the self and we can contemplate it. It's going, that's an indicator of what the truth is. It isn't the truth, it's conceptual thinking. But it indicates, it's like Buddha said, that's an indication that there's a truth there that's like this. So believing it in the words is believing something's not actually true because it's just conceptual thinking. It's an indicator of something divine. If you think like that, imagine that everyone had happiness and everyone had what I had and I was the only, all that needed to happen was that I took on the suffering, and your mind expands. It's an indicator that when you lose self-importance, magic opens up. It's an indicator of where joy resides, and it's stopping thinking about my own wants. I'm going to think about and love other people and want them to have happiness. My mind opens up like, wow. It doesn't mean that you don't enjoy yourself, enjoy your love. If you didn't have a love to enjoy, you wouldn't have that contrast to imagine it disappearing for others to have. Your happiness and joy is essential to understand what it means to not have it. If you've only had misery your whole life, you can't really wish happiness on others. If you've only been ill, you don't know what health is. So you're in your joy and love, you're imagining the absence of it. So you're empathizing with others who don't have it. In that empathy, you feel this tremendous love, this tremendous wish to share, which is an indicator of our inseparableness. It's an indicator that you can't live your life and ignore others. That's what these things are really saying, right? Don't ignore others. You don't need to run around like a headless chicken trying to relieve the suffering of the personality. You just don't ignore them in your heart. That's what, like by the prayer. And if you can help someone, if it arises to help them, help them. But you might not help them. But if you don't help them just because you're pissed off, you're lazy, you've got some perverse wish to hurt them, then, that's when you're falling. But if someone's coming up and you say that they're doing something, and if you help them, be like an interference, and you're just helping them just because you read the book to help them, it's not necessarily a help. So, does anybody have any questions on anything?
Yeah, I had a question. Um, so during that meditation, towards the end, when you were talking about that the senses are there, and without awareness, it felt like the senses are dependent on awareness, and then awareness is dependent on the senses, and then that was relating back to what like the contemplations that does that essentially mean that uh, form is dependent on emptiness and emptiness is dependent on form, or is form dependent on awareness and emptiness is outside this? I know this is like concepts, but um yeah, so is emptiness dependent on form? Yeah, I think that's my question.
Yeah, everything's interdependent. There's the emptiness of emptiness. Emptiness is the nature of things. So it's like in that meditation, and as you're saying, you understand that's how things are existing in this interdependence. Whereas normally we're thinking they're just there. So emptiness is not negating existence. It's just explained. It's just how things exist. Everything arises independence upon each other. And not as any kind of philosophy, but as your investigation in your meditation, it's like, is awareness dependent on the senses? And it's like, how can something exist if it's dependent on something else? It goes against how we usually think about things, that they must arise at the same time. How can these things arise at this? There must be something there first for them to be perceived, but it's all interdependent. Like, it's a weird thing.
Yeah, it feels like the mind wants, like, just like what you're saying there, one thing has to be independent of another thing. Like one has to come first. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like So I just assume, right, well, emptiness is the thing that comes first. But what you're saying is that it doesn't, in a way.
That which is beyond all our conceptions, right? But the five aggregates is like consciousness is like the observing self. That's the aggregate of consciousness is like the observing self. It arises independence upon form, contact, conception, thought, and they all arise together. And there's a sense of observing consciousness. But the awareness itself is beyond that. It can't be conceived, because whatever conceived arises in the aggregates. And they're continuously fluctuating and moving. The sense of a person is continuously fluctuating and moving upon all the other aggregates, all the other interdependent phenomena. It's a constant flow and change, right? Again, we can understand intellectually very easily that everything's changing, our sense of self. But awareness is outside of that field. Like it's inconceivable. But it's not, it can feel complicated, but it's the sense, just the simple sense of you, whenever you have a sense of it's an unfindableness, that's the object, that's it. Your being, your existing, you can't recognize what it is, but you know, you can't say there's an I knowing, there's just a knowing, it's unfound, that's it, rest there. Like if you think too much, it gets not. It's just you got into the meditation. That's why you need shamatha. There's that relaxed sense of just observing the senses, and then suddenly it's seen. That experience is known. Samaya.
My sense of awareness is very mixed with the I am sense. It's like, and I was wondering if that was like a contaminant. I can't tell if it's contracting it subtly or just how to sort of tease those, or if the I am's conceptual, but it doesn't feel conceptual. It's like a knowing, but it's very intimately known. Mm. I don't know what the question is exactly, apart from
So when we're practicing the path, then the I am, which I'm presuming here, is the awareness of awareness. It's not. That's what I mean by the I am. It's the awareness of the awareness, and that's the liberation. That's in like you're awareness of the awareness, but it leads to like there's a sense of duality in that, to a transcendent awareness that's self-aware. Whereas when we're in the I am, there's still like a conception of your knowingness. That makes sense. Now, there's nothing to worry about. It's beautiful, but like we're gonna, by meditating, like, this is the object of shamatha, is the awareness of awareness. We're gonna wear it away. Yeah, like it's like boring the hole in, but also that's like I mean, it's a very powerful meditation because it's like mixed in with Vipassana, which is the investigation and the knowingness of the emptiness of the I am, which means we understand that the I am itself is a dependent phenomenon. Because when we slip, you have to, it's like the subtle difference in your meditative experience of when you're just resting in the I am, and that's beautiful, but it's kind of slips into, like an inherently existent I am, as opposed to the pure awareness and the only way it says that's without an observer.
That's exactly the observers observing the I amness as if it's a thing. I can feel it's not a thing, it sort of moves.
Yes.
But it's definitely playing.
Yeah, that's right. There's like I mean, the words fall short in these kind of areas, but there's, like you say, if you get a sense of a distinction between, you're meditating and an experience of there's no self there, and it's just consciousness. Like I think we can understand that distinction between, you're meditating. It's still kind of the same one that's going to go and do the dishes, that's meditating, and a sense of it's just existence. So it's almost like that I am is like it's just melting the ice cube. And we got to this stage where we're now, we've got all the mud out the ice cube, and like the ice cube's crystal clear, but it's still an ice cube. And it's just going to melt into the ocean of, because God is I am too, but we can say in a way that's different from how we are. So when we're meditating on emptiness and we're wearing away the I, this is the Vipassana. Like it's a seeing and a knowing that the I is not real. And then you're going to bring that intuitive knowing into your I amness. And occasions, like Geshe says, when you meditate on emptiness, like you flap your wings every now and again. Every now and again you look and you see there's no such thing as a self. There's no selfness anywhere. And it goes again back into that space. Like it's a really weird thing. That's all I can say. When you really there's no selfness, especially when you open your eyes again. If you come out, if you've been, it's like, right, that's Vipassana. But there's something aware of that emptiness, of the no selfness. That's aware of the no selfness has been here since beginning this time. Now that doesn't change, it's always here, it's here right now. The I amness, we said before, it's like an experience. When we're going into the Heart of Wisdom, Geshe talks about when you're seeing emptiness, when you're seeing truth, you're still seeing it through your conceptual framework. Like you still know it with your mind, in a sense, until you have this incredible realization, until it's a direct seeing. So that can be like another framework to answer the question. It's like it is the I am, but it's still like it's still part of our conceptual framework of what the I am is. And it's distinct from when you're directly seeing it without any filter of a mind's overlay of what it is. So we're doing the two together. We're looking at emptiness, we're using our mind, we're doing Vipassana. We're doing shamatha, we're resting. We're just observing until the two actually come together. So there's a constant intuitive knowing that there's no selfness there, and at the same time there's a stable meditative experience of it. It's like this union of shamatha and Vipassana that will arise. But as the question expresses, you yourself know there's still an itch. Right? But say that's absolutely perfect. It's fine. It's going to be like that until there's this direct seeing. I am not the self.
Thank you.
Thank you. Don't you?
There's a couple of things that have been happening for me, and the first one feels more of a mind question, and the second one feels more of a heart question. So the mind question is really about, I feel like I can be in emptiness, but I still have a location and I'm smaller than the rest of emptiness. And if we're all meditating together, I can feel that connection, but you also all have locations within that emptiness. And I think that can't be right, but I can't seem to get away from that kind of placing of a self that feels like a no self, but it still has a location within that emptiness. So I'm not quite sure on how to dissolve all of that into the, you say mix the water with water or space with space. And I keep thinking, I'm kind of...
You're conceiving again.
Mm.
Yeah. So it's like, it's the object of meditation, which is hard to maintain, the shamatha, is the unfindableness of it. Yeah. So like if you're meditating, say you're meditating on sound, and you try and find the sound outside your mind, you realize there's no sound there. And it might last for a second before you latch onto a sound again as over there. Or if you're meditating on yourself and you experience this unfindableness, and then immediately you have a conception about it. It's like, oh, this unfindable, then you're conceiving again. So in the beginning, we're generally trying to hold those initial feelings of unfindableness, but we know we're going to have a conceptual overlay that goes on it. So you're talking about conceptual overlays that are going over your experience. We can counterbalance it. This is the difficult part of the meditation, because if you counterbalance it too much, you end up just counterbalancing the whole time. You need some time where you're actually just resting on the unfindableness, even though it's not the direct object. It's a next moment consciousness of a direct moment. But if you're thinking like that, then we'll find where the other people are. And it's like, what am I referring to as someone else? That's just a concept in my mind. That's not the thing there. It's like, what am I referring to as the self? And whatever you pick up, it won't be the self. And then as soon as when you do that, and then again you have this sense, there's nothing there, that's it. And then with the way our minds is at the moment, it'll latch onto that as an object and go, well, that's an object there. And then, well, where's the object there? What am I referring to? Again, it's just a thought, and you can't find what you're meditating on. The important thing being that you're conceiving again. And if you try to find what you're conceiving, you won't be able to find it. So you can use that as a counterbalance to go back into the space. But if you may notice, we chat, I mean, any sense of we get the unfindableness, the mind comes back like, it just jumps on it straight away. It's perfectly fine. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and it gives me a focus on how to work with that. The other question was more in the heart space, and it feels like the more that there's a connection with Allah and the unknowability of Him, it feels like a kind of a sadness that comes where, and this will sound strange because it's definitely in the body, in the physical body, but it's like he would never have anybody to hold him, and he could never hold me. So the best I can do to love him is to unconditionally love whoever comes my way. It feels like sometimes it wouldn't matter how many people you loved or how much you loved them, it would never be enough. So it feels like there's a kind of sadness there. And then I wonder if that's why Mohammed is as he is, because then that's that kind of beyond this experience level of love, where there is no body, there is no concept of being held. But that's coming up for me as a sense of sadness, I think.
Great. Sadness is super beautiful. That's the sense of separation. That's what you want. You want to be so distraught. It's like the Sufi path, this is what they focus on. It's like yearning to be one back with the beloved. And it's like you just look at the world. The Buddhist way is like you look at the world, it's like it's so utterly sad. People are in this samsara that you're just overwhelmed by it, that I must find a way to free people from this tragedy. That's working with our separation. Allah is self-contained, inexplicable Ya Rahman. That's the other name that he uses essentially for himself. It's just pure love. Everything is arising out of this. It's so, you just get a sense of it poetically. There's so much love. We're talking at a microscopic level in our personal way with Silvio and Akim. You've got this friendship you have to share. It just has to create a universe in order to see itself in its abundance of love. And that your first job is to love yourself. That's the point. That you are the representative on earth of this self-love, knowing itself, creating itself to know itself. And to recognize that everything is love. La ilaha illallah. Like, this is Dzogchen, we'll get there. It's like, right, okay, to some degree, we'll intellectually recognize there is no separate self. Like, it's when you get that's really clear, you get some experience in your meditation, then later on, after you've done like these texts and trainings, the idea, you're not going to go back. It's nothing but this is God. You're just holding, this is God. This is all God. Whoever you meet is God. Everything is love. Everything is God. There is no sin. There is no good and bad. It's just God. You're just lost in this ocean of God. There never was no non-love. That's just a false sense of a separate identity that is needed, that sense of ill health, to recognize what God is, and it's love. Like we're doing these vows, these are all ways to remove that sense of separation. It's just the right hand helping the left hand. That's where we want to move to. And that when you wake up, the world wakes up. If you want to free other beings, you have to free yourself, because they're just appearances in your mind. But then we're getting really far out, right? This is what we're working up towards. But this is why we're training. Like you do these practices now, because when we get further on, we're not doing them anymore. If that doesn't work, you can go back to the beginning again and work. But the idea is like there is no self. Really recognize it, so that when we go into Dzogchen, you're not thinking about it anymore. You're not questioning, oh, is this the right? You know there's no self. You've thought about it, you've reflected on it. Now I'm going to really experience it. So you can't go wrong with that sense of separation, because it gives you the juice to, like, what's he talking about? Please take me home. So it's 1:04. The sun has got his hat on. Hip, 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 hooray. So let us dedicate our time together. May we recognize that we are completely unique. May we have the strength and power to live our life the way that our consciousness wants to live it, in its own special expression. May we be free from all guilt and all false concepts of sin. May we understand that we are in Allah and cannot be separated from Allah. May we understand that whoever we see are reflections of our own consciousness waking up into Allah. May we embrace fully our life as it's meant to be lived, without any conceptions of a conditioned culture. May we feel joy in our freedom, and may we recognize that simply keeping the virtuous actions and avoiding the negative actions, we are leading a meaningful life, and we're doing it. And may we rejoice completely in our own good fortune of living such a life. Bismillahir-Rahmanir-Rahim, in the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful. Ameen. So, thank you all so much for your time. And by the grace of God, may we meet again.
It's a little bear monk man. Bear monk man. Yeah, he makes buckfast in his spare time. A monk, yes.
It looks more on camera. It looks more extreme, the bald, but it's quite impressive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
monk.
but in real life, it's not. It's not so.
It does.
It's just lighter.
He looks like he's dressed in robes.
Yeah.
Holy baby, holy bear, holy baby bear.
Gorgeous. Lovely to see you. Really good.
Yeah.
Nice to see you too. The light is shining from your eyes right now.
Oh, nice.
It's like piercing through.
Wow, great stuff. Great, great. I wish I could have a cuddle. Looks so nice.
Everyone cuddle.
Yeah. Mwah.
Very nice.
Love Namka.
Yeah, I love them.
It's dog about now.
Enjoy. Have a beautiful day.
Have a lovely day.